Hi, and welcome to the basic lesson for guitar for jam play. What we're going to cover in this lesson are all the things to get you started on your guitar. Now, you've probably seen one. They're all over the place. You've probably touched one, or perhaps really wanted to touch one. Now's your chance. You've got it in your hands, and we're going to talk about all the parts of the guitar. We're going to talk about how to tune it. We're going to talk about some tools to help you tune. We're going to talk about some general principles about the guitar. Look at some string physics. We're going to talk about what your left hand does, what your right hand does, and I'm going to give you some fingering exercises and leave you with some understanding of where the notes are on the guitar so that you'll be well started on your way. Alright, if you think of the guitar overall like a person, now the person's kind of laying on his or her side. This is the head, this is the neck, and this is the body. And some people even go so far as to call this the shoulders, the waist, and the hips of the guitar. On the head you'll see some tuning gears. There's lots of different kinds, but the main idea is that when you turn something here, the string winds around that post and it tightens and loosens to make the pitch you want on your string. The string then passes over the nut. And I tell children anyway, think about squirrels running up a tree, and what do they put in the tree? They put nuts. So that's the nut. It looks the same as what's at the other end of the string, which is the bridge. And if you'd hold your guitar up and look at the strings like this, you can see that the strings actually don't touch anything except for those two places. So it makes sense for us to call that the bridge. The bridge, in this case a white piece of material, is sitting in a hole that's called the saddle. And if you take all the strings off, that bridge is going to fall out. So keep your eye on it if you ever take all your strings off. The strings go in this guitar into holes through the bridge that go all the way through the top and are held there by these pegs. And these pegs are something that can come out and get lost if they get loose. So make sure they're tight in there. String will go all the way from that end up here across the nut, wrap around the post. There are 6 strings on this guitar, and that's a standard number for a 6-string guitar, as you might expect. Now, on the body of the guitar, the most important piece of wood is this piece on the top. It's called the soundboard, because it transfers the vibrations of the strings onto the larger body of the guitar, and as this vibrates, it reverberates down in the echo chamber inside and comes out through the sound hole. So it makes sense you call this the soundboard and that's the sound hole. Inside is a lot of different kinds of bracings, and all the different makers choose different kinds of bracings for different kinds of tones. The back of the neck, actually the part that's called the neck is the part that fits into the heel, into the crease of your hand. On top is a different kind of wood. It's usually ebony, and it's very dark, and it's a smooth wood that doesn't grab your fingers when you're sliding along. It's got 2 names. One is it's called the fretboard because it has all these individual frets or metal pieces that you can see going all the way across the neck. It's also called the fingerboard because your fingers are touching it. Well, that about covers all the parts of a guitar. If you are wanting to wear a strap on your guitar, sometimes people will put buttons, strap buttons, one down here or one here, or you can even put a strap that has a string that ties around up here, just to hold the guitar while you want to stand. Today, while I'm teaching, we're going to be sitting, and I hope you can find a good sitting posture that makes you comfortable. A chair that's got your legs kind of level so the guitar isn't going to slide off your lap. You don't want that to happen. Okay. Now, the first thing you want to do, and this is what daunts or looks daunting to a lot of people, is tune your guitar. Because if it's not in tune, it's going to sound kind of bad. To do that, we're going to need to learn the names of the strings so we know what we're aiming for. The first string and the thickest string is called E. It's a low sound. Above that is A. Above that string is D. The next string is G. And on this kind of guitar, the next string, B, is the first one that doesn't have a winding around the string, and the final string is E. It's the same name, but a much higher pitch than the first string that we played. If you buy a set of guitar strings, this high E is going to be called the first string, the high B is going to be called the second string, the G is going to be called the third string, the D is going to be called the fourth string, the A is going to be called the fifth string, and the low E is going to be called the sixth string. So it can be confusing which way we're talking sometimes, of where the strings are. You look on your guitar set of strings, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you need to learn the names of the strings either way. I learned them not with one of those cute fancy things that people put together to remember things. I just learned by the names of the strings themselves. And I say E-A-D-G-B. Not very creative, but it helps me remember E-A-D-G-B-E. Now right now my guitar is in tune, so I can start playing. But let's say that the strings were kind of out of tune a little bit. Either from getting knocked around in the guitar case, or, you know, the really bad thing, you just haven't touched it for a long time. And so, not very pleasing. There's some things we can do to make it in tune, though. The first thing that I used was a pitch pipe. You might remember these from chorus in school, or just something that's like a harmonica almost, only it's in a circle, so you can only play one note at a time. Now what I did was blow into the E and tune this string until it matched. Now how did I know which way to tune? It's going to be one of those things that changes sometimes for guitars. If people accidentally wound their strings the wrong way, it won't be a hard and fast rule that you always turn this way to tune. You might have to go this way. But if the strings are generally going on the inside of the posts and you're going to turn away from your body to tune up using this, and on this side you're going to tune towards your body because you're going to be tuning the same way. That's a little confusing to remember. So my rule is always pluck before I turn so I can hear what the note's doing. That way I don't think I have to tune up and I'm going, oh wait a second, that one up too high. I want to bring it down. Now, I used a chromatic pitch pipe, and I could tune them all using this. They also make guitar pitch pipes that just have the notes of your guitar and use one at a time. Doesn't need batteries, it's low tech, it's portable. The only difficulty is you might blow too hard into the tuner and get too many notes, or you might blow too soft and the note will be too low. So it can kind of change pitch. That can be confusing. The second way that I used for a lot of years is a tuning fork. You might have seen these in science class. You hit it on something not hard like your knee, hold it on the bridge, and it rings. And what I'm doing, this one vibrates and makes the A note, which is the A string, and I make one string match. Now I can tune the whole guitar using just one note that's been right. It's called the magic of the 5th fret. Let's count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I play that A string that I just tuned at the 5th fret. The next string should match it, but it doesn't. The D string is too low, so I'm going to bring it up. Now it matches. Here's the magic of the 5th fret. Go to the E string, the lowest string. It's a little low. It doesn't quite match the A, so I'm going to make that come up a little bit. Now they match. Going from the D at the 5th fret to the G, a little low. And that works. Now look what happens if I go to the next string though. This is where pattern changes. That's way off. That's because at the G string, you have to go to the 4th fret. That's the thing to remember. The magic of the 5th fret works for every string but G. At G, you have to go to the 4th fret, play your B string, and there you have it. Now go back to the 5th fret on the B string, and now your E matches, your high E. You might have to fine tune every now and then. Now they all match. Now that is a good low-tech way, needs no batteries, and it can help you tune your whole guitar, and it's really good to know. However, it might be difficult to do if there's a lot of noise around you, or if you don't have a really good ear, or you don't feel confident about how your ear can match pitches. And that's the case for a lot of people. Very, very few people have a thing called perfect pitch. Almost everybody can learn something called relative pitch. It's a skill. It's just like learning how to get soup out of a bowl into your mouth using a thing called a spoon without spilling it all over you. It's something that at the beginning it might not be so easy, and it can even be messy, but the more you do it, you get better at it, and pretty soon you can wolf down a whole bowl of Campbell's soup and you can say, good. Now, here's something that can help you get in that direction though. This is called an electronic tuner. They used to be really big, they used to be really expensive, now they cost about 20 bucks. This one is made by a company called Korg. There's a lot of different ones out there. This can do a couple of things. It can play a tone, and I can match the tone, much like I did using the tuning fork. However, I think this is much more valuable as a tool by this thing. If I push the red button, I don't know if you can see from there, but it has a little gauge that as I'm talking, it's trying to tune my voice. It also has some lights here on either side that tell me whether I'm close or too far this way is too high, too far this way is too low, and if I've got green going on right there, it means I'm right on pitch. So let me check and see how good I did using my other tools. I'm going to play my low E, and I'm just a little bit low. There's A is fine, D is good, G is good, B is a little low, just a hair, and E is good. There, it's good. Now, the benefit of using something like this is I'm tuned to A440, which is the standard. It's also the standard that I used on the tuning fork. And now I'm tuned so that if I want to play with other people who have tuned the same thing, we don't have to go through a big ritual of give me your E and I'll find out what your E is. We're all tuned to the same pitch. There's also another tuner that fits right on your guitar and you can read all the notes. It's called IntelliTouch. That can be a very useful one. And if you see other people playing with their guitars in a big group, you might find somebody with one of those sticking off their guitar, and that's what it is a tuner. Some other ones have theirs built into the pickup that might be in their guitar, so they can. You notice them on stage playing, and they're looking down here. They're reading whether or not their guitar's in tune while they're talking to you. So now we're in tune. Let's talk about some general things. Now this might sound funny, and I have some students who want to fight me on this, but on a guitar, this way is down, and this way is up. This way is up, and this way is down. Now, if I completely lost my mind, maybe, but in this case, what I'm talking about is the pitch of the notes on the guitar. You'll notice as I play the strings this way, they go from lower to higher. That's why I say going this direction is going up, and if I play this direction, the notes are going from higher to lower, so that's why I say this is going down. Now, if I go this way, using my fingers on the string itself, I'm making the string get shorter and I'm making it get higher. So when I go that way, I'm going up. If I start here and work my way toward the nut, the pitch is getting lower, so I'm going down. So as a general principle, going toward the bridge is going up because you're making the note go higher. Going toward the nut is going down because you're making the note go lower. And this touches on something that I call string physics. Maybe you weren't any good at physics. I wasn't very good at physics. But it's actually part of the law of strings. If a string is thicker, it's going to be lower in pitch. So you can look here and see that the E string, the low E string, is really thick. And it's very low. I'm going to play the high E string, very thin, and it's high. Generally, the thicker the string is, the lower the pitch. The thinner the string, the higher the pitch. Now there's two other things that affect string physics. So there are three things we need to remember. One is the thickness. The other thing is how long is the string. The string at its longest length from the nut to the bridge is as low as it's ever going to be. Everything you do after that is to make the string shorter, which makes the sound of the string higher. So this is your low note, That's the lowest it can be on the E string. Everything I do after that is moving my fingers up toward the bridge, which makes the pitch higher. The longer the string is, the lower the pitch will be. The shorter the string is, the higher the pitch will be. Now the third thing to remember is how tight is the string. We just did this with tuning, but I'm going to do it again. Okay, now I've lowered the string so much that it's just buzzing and it's just banging on things and it doesn't sound good at all. Here's a lesson for life. On a guitar, the goal is not to get rid of tension. The goal is to balance your tension so you can get a nice sound. So if the string is too loose, it doesn't even make a sound you can hear. But you make the string tighter. If you make it too tight, I could go like this and the string could just snap right off here and give me a welt on my hand and everything. I don't want to do that. Using the 5th fret, I'm testing to see. Too high. I'll check it with my tuner. A little low. Too high, coming back. There we go. Just where we need to be. Okay, so our guitar is all, we know where the parts are, we know how it's put together, we know what we're kind of thinking about in terms of direction to get the sounds that we want out of the guitar. Now one other thing we need to do is get good tone, and I'm going to show you a couple different ways how we can do that. This has to do with finger placement. When you're putting your fingers into the frets of the guitar, you want to be behind the fret. Now which way is behind the fret? The side toward the nut. The first fret to be behind the fret is to be on this side of it, the side toward the nut. If I push right there, I'll get the tone I'm looking for. If I'm too far forward, so I'm sitting right on top of the fret, listen. It's not quite clear, is it? But I move behind a little bit, nice and clear. If I get too far away from the fret though, listen to what happens. It's not very clear at all. In fact, it's the wrong note. Now I can push really hard and get the note I want, but why do I want to work harder than I need to and get a big cramp in my finger? If I get right behind the fret and push just hard enough, I'll get what I need. Nice tone. Now, I could do that on all the strings. In fact, one of the things you should do is follow me. We're going to do that on all the strings in the 1st fret. Your first finger is going to play on the 1st fret. So here's E. Here's E. Now put your finger down. You get good clear tone? Try it again. Now go to the B string and do the same thing. That's the one right next to it. Put your finger down. Good clear tone? Good. Try it again. Do that another time. Now let's go to the G string, the 3rd string. Finger down, good tone, do it again, and do it again. Good. We've got 3 more strings left to do. We're on the D string, first finger going down, right behind the fret to make good tone. Now go to the A string and do the same thing again. And one more on the low E string. Can you hear how it's nice and clear? Now just practice making bad tones so you know what not to do. Put your finger right on the fret. It's not very clear. It's kind of thunk, thunk, thunk sound. Go way back toward the nut. It's not clear at all. In fact, it might even be the wrong note. Get right behind the fret and push just hard enough. Now practice backing off the pressure and see when it starts to buzz, because you don't want it to buzz. That doesn't sound very good. But just push hard enough so it stops buzzing, and in your finger you won't have Popeye fingers with big bulging muscles. You'll just have fingers that are appropriately strong.